Good
Welcome.
afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us today. I think you're going to be very delighted with the information that we're sharing today. Had a great opportunity to connect with our expert, and I think you're going to be delighted with the opportunities that he shares. We're going to wait a couple minutes until everyone is entered into our system. But if you wanted to, this would be a great time for you to drop in the chat anything that your school or your schools, if you're coaching, some of the things that your schools are doing that are really showing impact through building routine, building relationships, and building that feeling of relevance. I really matter. If you want to drop that in the chat, that would be a great start. Paige, I have a quick question for you. I am curious how to double check and see if this is recording.
It says in the top right that it is recording.
It did. Okay. All right. Yeah. I didn't see that on my end. Great.
And I think that people get a notification when they join the meeting that it is
excellent.
Recording.
Okay. So thinking about staff meetings, starting with someone as a volunteer greeter. I love that idea. I'm curious if how that feels for people when they're greeted. I love the fact that we're starting to really think about the ways we can make some of our systems a little bit more welcoming. Okay. Having more school community events, not just one open house. Bring in those families in. The family engagement piece is astronomical. We've been looking at some data, thinking about where are we seeing the greatest improvements in attendance. And interestingly, or actually it's what we all knew, but now we have the data to support it, showing that where schools that have the greatest family engagement are at the top of our schools that are showing increased attendance. So family engagement, excellent. More parents and kids come, and they have found less attendance issues, getting everybody on board. All right, well, I'm going to start things rolling. And as Paige kind of confirmed for me, we will be recording this right now. That'll give you the opportunity to share this as a link or direct colleagues so that they can come back and look at this. This recording will be housed on our Maine Engagement and Attendance Center web page, as well as at the end, we give you, in the next couple days, you'll receive an email recapping what we talked about today and listing every single resource that we list. That way, you don't really have to take all the notes, write down every email address today. You'll be able to just click on it when you get that email. So today, I'm delighted that you have joined us for our second MEAC, Maine Engagement and Attendance Center Office Hour. This month, we're focusing on building routine, relationships, and relevance. Oh, that's interesting. Julie Smythe knows when I sing, there's something wrong. That's really interesting. So, oh, there we go. Okay. So today, let's take a look at our agenda. We're going to have some introductions in just a moment, and then we're going to talk about how MEAC can really assist SAUs in increased attendance, in supporting that. And then we'll talk about our October Tier 1 evidence-based practice to support increased attendance. As we stated earlier, our practice this month focuses on building routine, building those relationships, and the relevance. If we have the opportunity, we will work with breakout groups and we'll have a chance to share what colleagues are doing. It's an opportunity for you to snag some ideas, maybe share some successes that your school is having, or maybe even voice some challenges that you're having and get some feedback from colleagues that are also challenged by the same situations. Then we'll have a wrap up with questions for our content expert. and talk about next steps. What are some things that you perhaps could implement before we meet again in November? Finally, we'll have some resource sharing. And as I said, those will be part of our follow-up emails. So got some great things coming. So the question is, how can the Maine Engagement and Attendance Center, known as MEAC, help with increased attendance? Our super focus is to think about the root causes. We are currently in an incredibly diverse environment in education. People are doing a masterful job of navigating that. But one of our roles is to provide guidance and technical assistance to support increased attendance through addressing root causes, not just the symptoms, not looking to put a Band-Aid on something, not really looking to fix one problem at a time, but what are some systemic changes that perhaps your SAU could make that would impact multiple students? Oh, I'm also going to say that what we've also seen is when our attendance increases, so do our academic gains. And that really makes sense. If they're not in the school, they're not going to be making the academic gains that we're seeking. We will be exploring opportunities, practices, sharing what's working, talking about what's not. And we are going to, as we said, feature our content experts that will offer practical insights. This month, I am beyond delighted to introduce to you Jim Boothby, who is a retired, well, the list goes on and on and on, but retired bus driver, cook, custodian, classroom educator, assistant principal, principal, and superintendent. What I love about his laundry list of engagement in schools is that by going through all of those different levels, he has a very unique perspective, being able to see it from every angle. And it's been a great opportunity for me to talk with him and hear his perspectives. I've loved it. So again, we're always focusing on increased attendance so that we can, ta-da, see more kids in our Maine schools. Real quick review of some of the things that MEAC has been engaged in. You may have seen our proclamation from the governor supporting our efforts to really focus on September as Attendance Awareness Month. We also have we had a logo contest and a motto contest. You're going to hear more about that, but we did agree on the motto of rooted in learning, growing every day, be Pine Tree present. And right now, I think on the 25th, maybe the 24th, is our final day for districts to submit their logos. We've already received dynamic logos representing this motto, and I'm super excited to see those coming in. You may have seen us at the annual Educator Summit. You maybe saw us working at the MEA's gathering in the Portland area, Maine Model of School Support. We've been popping all around trying to share as much knowledge and provide the resources that are going to assist everyone in increasing attendance. So one of our overarching messages that we're really trying to convey is increasing attendance in the state of Maine really is it's an effort that involves teamwork. Often people feel like it's falling all on their shoulders. Is it the classroom teacher's responsibility? Is it the administrative assistant's responsibility? Oh, maybe it's the principal's. Oh, that superintendent, he needs to get higher attendance. Well, what we're doing is thinking about it as a team effort. Each month, MEAC will be providing a Tier 1 evidence-based foundational practice to increase attendance. We will also be highlighting different action steps that students can take, families can take, educators can take. What about the administrator role? What about the community partnership role? So this month, again, building routine, relationships, and relevance. And I love this because with this graphic, it clearly states what's one step. We all know that everybody has a lot on the plate, but what is one small actionable step you can take to help increase attendance? So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you again, Jim Boothby. Jim, would you like to speak a little bit about where you came from, what your practices are, and then we'll get you off, hitting the road running.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I recognize some folks, so hello, everybody. Good to see you. Um, yeah, I was very pleased to get asked to come and address and talk with this group. This is pretty much a passionate project for me. Um, Having taken over a school district about 18 years ago now, I had a very clear message from the community of what their expectation of their schools were. We had done a focus group. We started a brand new RSU, if you guys remember consolidation. And we took that opportunity to bring the four communities together and to develop a strategic plan. And with the idea behind the strategic plan was we wanted to look at it through the lens of our customers, our students and our parents. And then secondary is our community and our business partners and so on and so forth. Um, from those meetings, it was very clear that we had communities that wanted to support education, but weren't happy with the outcomes. We were dealing with a situation where we were seeing graduation rates. The year before I was hired was at 76%, and we had a dropout rate of 8%. That is not where it needs to be. My district was host to a very large paper mill that decided in 2014 that was going to close. And people, I think, for a long time just counted on that. I'll get through school, I'll get a job in the mill. That day came that no longer was an opportunity. But prior to that, we had a very clear direction of things we needed to attend to. Um, I think things happen for a reason, and a lot of times everything comes together and the stars align. That first fall, when I first arrived in RSU 25, which is Bucksport, Olin, Prospect, and Verona Island, I also had the pleasure of meeting Susan Savell. And Susan was working with Spurwink, and they were working with a group, this startup group called BARR, Building Assets, Reducing Risk, a group out of St. Louis Park High School in Minnesota. Angela Jerabek, who was the guidance director, ninth grade guidance director there, had applied for a grant when President Obama had his I-3 grants available for innovation grants, and applied for and received a grant for the BARR program. Bucksport High School was fortunate enough to be selected as one of the first three schools in the country to implement the BARR protocols, the BARR work, and actually be studied to see how that impacted all of the things you're talking about here. What the attendance was, what the behaviors were, what the passing rates were. It was very, very, very fortunate. It was also fortunate that the entire staff had an opportunity to meet with Angela Jerabek. And when we were done talking to Angie and about the project and what this would mean, 100%, it was unanimous. We need to do this. This is the right thing to do. And in all essence, it's really about taking your curriculum, your teachers, and getting better outcomes for our students. To make a long story a little bit shorter, you fast forward it, and after we had implemented BARR for a few years, we saw our graduation rates. We peaked out at 95% on a 4-year cohort, and our dropout rate dropped below 2%. We were down about 1.6%. So that.
May I interrupt you there and just ask, was that with the use of BARR, or was that as you were kind of dipping your toe into it and trying, that was with the support of the BARR
That was with
program?
BARR, yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yep, that was absolutely with BARR. And what we saw in that was an improved culture of the school all the way around. We saw our improvement. The students were felt like they were recognized by their teachers. They knew that their teachers were talking about them on a regular basis. They knew that their teachers were connecting them with them through different curricular activities to get to know them as human beings, get to understand who they are, what their dreams, wishes, and wants were. They understood that the teachers were talking with parents and connecting with parents. So if there were challenges, parents were recognized as partners in the solution, not just someone we had to notify. So the phrase of talking to parents and saying, "Hey, do you have some suggestions? How can you help us?" and really developing that teamwork. One of the most powerful things that I believe that BARR did was the fact that these kiddos in team meetings, we built our schedule and we gave dedicated time during the school day, not before, not after, but during the school day, we built our, so we had a period of time where our freshman team could meet and discuss all of the students and find out how they are doing. So each, and at the time we had approximately 100 students in a freshman class. So we had 4 core teachers. They each had 25 students, not necessarily the same ones that they had in homeroom or not, but they were 25 students. And they would meet and discuss these students during these meetings. And they would track, how are they doing? Are they doing well academically? Where are their strengths? Where are the areas of opportunities? How are they doing socially? Are there challenges socially? How is their attendance? We were tracking their attendance. All this information was collected. We actually developed some spreadsheets to collect this data. So it became an entire year-long collection of 100 students, and every meeting information was put in there. This allowed us to really get a good profile of students. And most importantly, I had previous experience with SAT teams,
Right.
but there was very good and I appreciated it, but we spent most of our time on the same handful of kids, time in and time out, and never really saw a lot of movement, a lot of traction. With the BARR model, we were able to have also, besides the initial meetings, we had what was called risk review. And so if students were having challenges and that were recognized, they would be referred to risk review. And that's where another group, some of the teachers from the freshman group, administration, counselors, social workers, school resource officers, and even parents were involved in risk review to figure out what's going on with this kiddo. What can we do to support them? Is it internal supports, or do we need to connect the student and the family with some external supports, possibly counseling, what have you? But just getting to know your students at this depth and this level allowed us to create a relationship with the students and increase the trust and the understanding. And they realized that the teachers were there to help them. And it really made a difference.
Jim, I'm loving what I'm hearing you say is that the topic could not be more perfect when we think about routine relationships and relevance. Through the framework of BARR, you were
Right.
able to not only show students how relevant they were, to their own learning, but to the school community. And by doing so, you really, really built incredible relationships with families. And the stronger your families were, then it really impacted everything you were doing. So I guess my question, Jim, is must you be a BARR school to be able to make an impact like this? Or can you maybe speak briefly to that?
Well, I'm never going to say you have to be one thing or another.
Excellent.
BARR was
Okay.
a vehicle that we found that helped us be very successful. Um, BARR is more than SAT. BARR is more than meet and greet at the door. BARR incorporates a lot of those same activities, but puts it in a package and a structure that has procedures and protocols in place that keep you on track and keep you moving forward. And it's dedicated within the school day. It boils down to what's your priorities,
Yeah. Yeah.
so this isn't something extra. It's not like we have to be there at 6 in the morning to have an SAT meeting because nobody else has time. Um, we set
And
that
another
aside
thing,
when,
no, you're
yeah,
right. I'm sorry.
when we built the high school schedule. And anybody who's built schedules understands you have to find what your singletons are and what your priorities are before you build the rest of the schedule. Well, for us, we made a commitment that our BARR team meeting time is the first thing that went into the schedule. Everything had to be built around that. So it was a priority. Is this our priority? Are we going to live it? Are we going to walk it? Are we going to talk it? So you have to
And then the
bring
other
it
piece you're
into the
saying,
whole school.
everybody was engaged in it. I see that in
Yes.
the BARR framework, it's K-12. Was that the case with your practices?
No, when we first started, it was 9-12.
Okay.
It has since expanded when they brought in the middle school. We brought our middle school onto that. And right now, now that I'm retired, I'm in hopes that they're going to bring that to the elementary school as well. But it is a K-12 initiative. There's programming, and some of the U time and I time lessons are leveled for appropriateness for the students. That's part of the secret sauce is the I time and U times. It's dedicated times where the same team teachers are working with students in a class once a month, and they'll go through an I at the high school. It's called I time, and these have all been developed by the BARR Center. They are all protected, copyright protected, but they've been tried and they're true. But it works on different things that, challenges how to have grit and keep going. So you might have a lesson that works on that. You might have a lesson that works on teamwork. You might have a lesson that works on, other things and other challenges, relationships, and talking with people and how to introduce yourself with people. All those, what we think is fairly simple and day to day, that's pretty important learning for students.
And it's
And
all the stuff that really impacts not just academics, but the social piece, which then ultimately
absolutely,
impacts attendance. So
yeah,
what I feel like I'm really hearing you say is there were many key pieces that were put together, packaged in this structure, but you were able to see some of those things that if you were a school that was not currently practicing BARR, um, engaged in a BARR framework, you could still, as a result of some of the things I'm hearing you talk about, and I'm writing as fast as I possibly can, so that when I
yeah,
send the follow-up email, maybe send out a few of the different practices. I also like the fact, Jim, that you talk about the secret sauce, because we all
hmm
know that there is secret sauce to different things. I'm hearing 100% commitment from 100% of the staff really
yeah.
is astronomically impactful. And I like the fact that you're just, let me see, let's talk a little bit more about maybe some of the system-wide school improvement things that you were talking a little bit about. You touched on a bit before. Everyone was
Well,
engaged.
right. Well, and that came. We actually had people where we had people applying to be on that freshman team because when we first started, it was just the freshmen. So that kind of made it a big deal. It was six expanded into the sophomore and the junior year. Okay, so the kids, you're having that longitudinal move and working with teams each year. Yeah, you can pull out, I mean, working and connecting with kids and building relationships. Yes, you can do that no matter where you are, no matter if you're a bar school or not a bar school. Um, what BARR does is it gives you um, a model, it gives you a framework, and it gives you the curricula to help support that. Okay.
But beyond the SAT framework, I'm hearing you say instead of dealing with instead of working to provide support for a pocket of students, every single student, even the kids, sometimes I hear in the field that it turns out to be kids that you thought everything was going really well with, but in fact,
Yeah.
they really needed supports. So would you like to talk a little bit about um, building that feeling of relevance, the mattering, how kids perceive that, and what you saw um, from students or even staff? I'm curious about staff as well.
Yeah. Well, what we saw, I knew we were really onto something when I was up to the high school and I saw a young man in the hallway at his locker, and it was only he and I in the hallway because everybody else was in class. He was upset. I asked him a question, what's going on? Why are you upset? And he goes, this school drives me crazy. Everybody knows everything there is to know about me. And I thought that was the greatest statement in the world. I thanked him, and because he validated what we were going for.
Yeah.
So what did it make? It made the relationships with students and teachers. You still have that professional relationship, um, but it became more genuine because you had your students recognize the teachers are caring about you. They're doing what they can to help you, um, and they're actively trying to find out what it is that you need. How can we support you? So they felt like, and no student could hide, right? You always have in schools, and especially some bigger schools, you can have a kiddo just play school well, keep their head down, shuffle their feet, and really go through 4 years of high school, and you really don't know who they are. That is possible,
Sure.
and this does not allow it. So, getting to know your students, having the students get to know you as a human being, very, very important. Okay. And you're showing some of these slides. And one of the things and why I'm such a big proponent of BARR is the fact that this has been validated. This has been studied. Out of all the I3 grants, and there were numerous grants given, BARR was the only one that can meet all the bars, pardon the pun, of being research based and being, definitely a positive impact on schools. And the research keeps bearing it out. Every school that does BARR and does it with fidelity, the outcomes are positive 100% of the time.
It's interesting.
Where they,
As you're speaking about this, I keep going back to all the research that's recently been released about the sense of mattering. And that
Mhm,
really ties in, ties in perfectly with relevance. We just attended the Maine Youth Thriving Summit, and
mhm,
their focus was they gave us a recipe for mattering. And I loved the 5 ingredients: recognition. You're talking about that.
mhm,
Attunement. How am I tuning into my feelings? How am I feeling? I love that student was able to say to you, I tell you what, this school drives me crazy. But what
mhm,
a true compliment that was. Importance. You are worth my time and you are worth my attention. And you have a whole team, you
yep,
have a whole school that's making that statement. Reliance.
yep,
You depend on them, and you depend on their voice to bring forth what they're feeling. And then we also have the last piece, the ego extension that says, hey, I'm willing to stand in there with you during your struggles. And I feel like everything
mhm,
you're speaking about really ties into masterfully building that sense of mattering. And we all know, anytime we talk about, you don't just have to be a parent. You could be an auntie, and you know the impact. You could be an uncle. You could be a neighbor. You know the impact when school is going well for students. And anytime we can bring family and, I dare say, community in, that's where we are currently seeing the greatest successes. Let's see. Oh, so let's talk a little bit about upscaling. This is interesting. You shared this document with me, and I found it to be fascinating. It kind of speaks to, do you have to be a bar school, or how would you become a bar school if you were interested in that?
yeah. Well, becoming a bar school is, I mean, again, there's information there about reaching out to the bar center. You can go right there and contact. A great touch point in the state of Maine is Paige Nichols. Reach out to her. She can put you in touch with the right people with bar. Maine did something I think that was a wonderful use of the funding they had with the money we had from the federal government. The DOE made opportunities for a number of schools to access bar. Um, a number of schools did. And again, good positive results. The outcomes were very favorable. Is this going to solve every one of your problems? Of course not. But it's going to be a huge step in the right direction. And the protocols with BARR fit very nicely with BBIS. They fit very nicely with any structure you have in your school. What's exciting is now BARRs have been in over 500 schools across the country, and they've seen these successes no matter if it's Maine, Minnesota, California, Wyoming. I was at a meeting just a couple of weeks ago, and great results coming from a tribal school in Wyoming. It's and again, the key is really developing those relationships so that the students trust you. They know you're going to be consistent. It doesn't mean you're not going to hold them accountable for doing their work or accountable for behaviors, not at all. But it's about that it's okay. You know, you're still going to care about them. You're still going to take good care of them and make sure they're successful. But what's exciting is as this is scaling up across the country, it is sustainable. One of the things that we saw a benefit from this was we have the same group of teachers as our freshman team. 3 out of the 4 original teachers are still there, which is fantastic. They've switched, some have gone to the sophomore team, so on and so forth. But the teachers have stayed at that school.
I'm gonna put you a little bit on the spot. I hope you're ready for a difficult question here. You're just getting to know me a little bit, but I'm a super straight shooter, and I hear, man, like I would love to have the BARR framework in place, but what if I don't have the money?
Yeah.
It's a big price tag. So if what would be your words of advice if I was, we talked about, if you're interested, a conversation with Paige Nichols from the Maine Department of Education, and her information will be listed in our follow-up email. You could always reach out and say, hey, tell me a little bit more about it. But I got to tell you, I'm a Yankee. I'm a fiscally conservative Yankee. Tell me some ways that I could maybe figure out to, it's great that the Maine DOE supported it fiscally before, but we're in a very dynamic time, Jim. What do you think I could do now?
Well, again, it's life is about choices and priorities. Okay. When I take a look at the 279 for FY26, I know the 279 calculates high school students at about just under $9,000. Okay. If you have dropouts, okay, kiddos leaving your school and walking away, there's $9,000 per kid leaving the door. Okay. If you can make sure that 6 kiddos don't leave the door, there's $60,000 of more revenue coming into your district through the 279. Okay.
You just caught my attention there.
Yeah, well, I hope
Yes.
so. I hope so. I mean,
Yes.
because you have to take a look at this as a business model. All right. And that's one thing in education I don't think we do enough of. We don't run it with a business model. And obviously, I understand and I'm very empathetic to all the other aspects of education. But from a central office position, when you're responsible generating funds so you can have the school, you need to look at things as a business. And you have to say, what is going to be our biggest reward? Just because we've done one thing this way forever, is it the right thing to do? Times change, situations change, and it may be, but you have to be honest with yourself and you have to put it up to the light of day and say, are we getting the biggest bang for our buck for this investment? I think the last math program I purchased for the elementary school was $140,000. Right? That's money that I had to put into a budget. Okay.
Right.
Fortunately, we had reserve money. I could use that reserve money for that. But that was a priority we had. So we made that choice to expend that money.
So again, I'm hearing you say, identify what the challenges are, look for the gaps in your programming, and then think about creative ways to reallocate funding. And I love your point that you're making about, like, let's take a look at how much are we losing through potential dropout, and how could we, thinking about the engagement piece, and that again goes back to the relationship piece. If I understand that a student perhaps is interested in a pathway to career technical education, you don't have to be a BARR school to say, hey, let's figure out how we can make this work for a student. We can keep them in through middle school with the understanding that when you get to the high school level, then this is the path that you could take. And then, yes, you're going to be the best welder in the world because I've seen some of the things you're doing. So it's, again, getting to know the kids, getting to know the families, getting to know the community.
And you talk about, Sarah, relevance. And
Yes.
it's not only that the student feels relevant in the culture and the community of the school, but what their activities as a student are relevant. Why do I go to school at 5 years old? Because mom and dad told me I was going to, bought me a new outfit, and took me to school.
I like it.
You want kids and families to understand there is a purpose to getting your education, and it's not just about daycare. It's not about recreation, although that is part of the components, but it's about preparing you for life beyond high school and what are your post-secondary plans. So, you know, having conversations with kids and building structures so you can have those conversations about, you know, what do you want to do with your life in the future, and not, you know, I want to work in molecular biology, you know, but on broader terms, I'm interested in science, I'm interested in engineering, I'm interested in, you know, CTE. Well, in those bigger pools of occupations, have the kids understand what's there, help them explore what's there, help them experience, whether that's through a internship or just a site visit to different businesses and all. But if kids find something that they love and are passionate about it, their buy-in's already there. It's going to be easy. You just need to create the opportunities for them. But if they're just going to school, going through the rote motions,
Right. Right.
it's not relevant to you. You know, you
So it's
need to
interesting.
know.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, sir.
No, but that's what we were talking a little bit earlier about, is identifying what really sparks you, and then let's figure out how we can make what we already have in place work, just by
Right,
some moderate shifts.
right.
I'm going to just kind of go a little bit here and say we had originally thought about going into some breakout groups and talking about what's working for schools or what are challenges we're facing. I think I'm going to make a a side. Uh, I'm gonna veer off a little bit, and we have 10 people, and I'm thinking that our time may be best used staying together and talking a little bit about some of the resources. Are people comfortable with that? All right. Okay, if you're cool with that, I'd love to keep Jim talking. In full transparency, I had the opportunity to meet with him today earlier, and I swear I could have kept talking to him all day long, because what he's talking about is the success stories that he and his team saw as a result of establishing the routines that everyone was engaging in. Really thinking about purposefully building those relationships with students, with families, with staffs. And then I love the whole relevance piece. So let's kind of skip forward a little bit here, and let's talk about maybe some resources that are available or some practices that might be possible for people to implement before we come together again in November. One of the things I did here, Jim, I think you quickly touched on, did your team greet students at the door? Was that one of
Yes.
your practices? Do you want to talk a
Yeah,
little
that
bit
was
about
one of
that?
the practices, and that was actually in place before I even got there. We had one teacher, Joel Pelletier. I'll shout his name out and give him all kinds of props. He was our welding instructor, and he would meet every kid at the door every morning, along with the principal, assistant principal, guidance. And but Joel was very good at every kiddo. He spoke to him first name basis. Good morning. How are you? Good to see you. It got to a point if he wasn't there, the kids were asking, "Where's Mr. Pelletier?" Um, and they look forward to that interaction from the moment the day came. And if they were, you know, a few minutes late, he was right there to help them. You know, where you been? Let's go. We need you here. And you know,
Yeah,
the kids expected it and wanted it to be. So yes, um, and I've seen that in place in other schools. I've seen principals outdoors meeting the kids at the bus. I know at our middle school, we had the principal and the assistant principal because we do parent drop off on one entrance bus on the bus circle. So every other day they would switch and they would both
love it.
lock in their time. So they had 30 minutes every day that they would be outside to meet and greet, say good morning to the parents, hi to the kids, sometimes help kids. You know, you always have kids end up on crutches and everything. So they'd help them, or
I
but it
love
was
this.
just starting the day in a positive method.
And I think also above and beyond that, it shows, hey, I see you, I hear you, I value you. I notice when you're
Yeah.
not there. One of the things I did notice you said is it wasn't just like, hello, 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 hello. It was, hey, Jim, good to see you. Or, hey, Julie,
Yeah.
are those new glasses that you're wearing? It's that personal noticing that really, really makes a huge impact.
Yeah. One of the
Another
things,
thing,
Sarah, that I could throw out there that something you could do and encourage is having staff members, not only teachers, but your ed techs and support staff, everybody. If you got a chance to go to a play, go to the play, go to the kids' ball game, and make sure you speak to the kiddo the next day. And hey Susie, I saw you did a wonderful job with that song. I was so impressed. Um, Again, that just kids just light up when they see you're taking the time out of your day and you're showing up.
it
And
is crazy to see that rough and tough baseball player
oh
and
yeah,
they're at shortstop and they look up and they see you and they're like, I love it.
yeah,
I love it.
oh yeah,
Another one of the evidence-based practices that we've been talking about at the Maine Department of Education is establishing a morning meeting or an advisory period. And that's one of the things that you talked about, an opportunity for people to come together, have conversations. And
mhm,
we have a couple resources that people could look into about the importance of that. I like the fact, again, that you're saying it's a school-wide practice. Everybody carves it out. It's something that we don't just get to every, oh, wait, it's Tuesday. It's not time for that. But it's in the schedule. It's built right in so that
yeah,
kids have an opportunity to connect. This was a huge piece that I'm hearing is asking students to focus on how relevant and connected they feel to instruction. We talk about
mhm,
linking things to local issues so that it's more, oh my gosh, you talked about the trudgery, drudgery. Oh, I don't know, just trudging through the drudgery
right.
of school days. But if it's connected to local issues, and it doesn't take an awful lot to do that, but there's some great resources through Attendance Works. Do you have anything on that, Jim?
Well, again, I think it all ties together. But yes, if kiddos see that their education has a relevance to them
Mm.
and they see that they're noticed, they're going to internalize that. And once it's internalized, you're going to spark, and those kiddos are going to take off. And it's really, really important so they feel there's a reason why they're doing this work. And and one thing I do want to point out that all of these are great activities and important to have in place, but it's important to have a systemic approach as opposed to random acts of kindness. So if you
Talk a
just
little
have
more
one
about
or
that.
two teach,
Yep.
right? If you only have one or two teachers doing these things, it's nice. I applaud them. It's wonderful, but it won't have the same impact if the team as a whole unit works together on similar. Everybody's pulling the same rope.
Hence, you're going back to the team approach. I love it.
Right.
Everybody.
Yeah.
And it's interesting when we think about team, it's not just, for me, it's not just teachers and it's not just teachers and administration. It's the student.
Everybody.
It is the family. It is community partnerships. And when we all look at it through that lens, what a powerful impact that is. This was an interesting one that was shared with us, thinking about creating a system to assist students in setting their own attendance goals. I was thinking about a local family that was having some difficulties with attendance, but I knew them. And so I reached out and I was like, hey, how are things going? Oh, great, 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 great. Is Hank having a good year? Oh, having a great year. How's attendance been? Oh, it's been pretty good. I mean, he's missed a couple days. Well, like how many days has he missed? Oh, I think 10. When in fact, Hank had missed 76 days. And so what we're thinking about is
Yeah.
sometimes that's not because the parent is trying to be like difficult. Sometimes it's the lack of awareness of like, oh my gosh, it's 76 days. So I love the concept of and you talk about giving kids opportunity to look at their own um, success and their own pathways. perhaps part of that scheduling in an advisory period could be, hey, let's check and see how attendance is doing. Hot diggity, you had
Yep.
made a goal to miss no more than 2 days of attendance each month, and you are hitting that. So having the kids, instead of a teacher saying, you've missed X number of days, have the kids be a part of that conversation. The use of data, powerful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I love this project-based learning. Again, it's with the student input. Do you have anything on that, Jim?
Well, we've done a number of different things with. We actually have a hydroponics greenhouse at the middle school, and the kids do project learning there, and we made that a priority. What a great way to teach math when you have kids taking, you know, items that they grew, putting it into a recipe, and they have to actually use measurements and
Yeah.
fractions,
Yeah.
but it becomes real to them. They
And the
also
economics of
realize
that.
that,
Yeah.
yeah, and if they're going to eat it themselves, they're going to do a good job with it. And
Yeah.
but
I
don't
love
the
it.
kids get excited? I mean, that also had a outdoor pizza oven that the kids built, so they would use their vegetables and things to make pizza, and they got to serve their parents, they got to serve the school board. So those types of projects are really exciting for kiddos. We did a lot with tapping maple trees in the spring, and the kids got to know that process, and they got to estimate, all right, we've got 27 gallons of sap. How much do you think we're going to get for syrup? And have the kids have those conversations and things like that. But
Sadly, Jim,
kids
the
need to be
reality behind
active
that's a little
learners.
scary. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
they
my
got to
gosh,
be
what's it?
active learners.
40 gallons to 1? Oh, the
I'm
reality,
not
that's
even sure
harsh.
of the ratio, but
Yeah,
it's not a
yeah.
lot.
I know. So again, thinking about those partnerships, I imagine that you were able to connect with a local maple producer. I know that there are other schools in our state that very closely connect with different community partnerships. Here we have our contact information, but again, you could reach out to Paige Nichols at the Maine
Yeah.
Department of Education if you were interested in that. Resources sharing if you have questions about routine, relationship, and relevance supports, we've got Jim Boothby, and I probably should have asked you if you were cool with people connecting with you, but
Absolutely, you're fine.
and then in our previous MEAC office hours, we talked with Aubrey Howard, again, that school climate piece. I heard Jim say that when they started addressing their gaps through a real team approach, the culture of his school shifted dramatically, I would say. And what did you
Mhm.
say? Did you say that your attendance went from, excuse me, your graduation went from like 79% to
76, 76 to 95%. And it's
see?
still, even after COVID and everything, the
Yeah,
last time I checked, and I think it was around 92%.
yeah.
So I know since we started BARR, the district outperformed the national and the state averages on graduation rates, which is great. And I think you'll find in the research that BARR schools will show a higher level of graduation rate compared to the rest of the state, and their attendance will be higher as well.
I believe you are correct. It seems to me that recently I heard, I'm not, Paige, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I feel like I heard recently that that's the case. Do you want to speak to that or
To the data.
attendance? Yeah, specifically
Yeah, I
attendance.
did put our most recent report in the chat for people to take a look at.
Oh,
And on our website we have last year's report as well, but we have seen consistent, obviously this is aggregated data, this is not per school, but consistently since the beginning of our work with the BARR Center, we've seen data trending in a positive direction around attendance and engagement, reduction in dropout rates, increased even like academic scores. So it's sort of across the board. And when Jim says, like, is it going to solve all your problems? No, of course not. He's right. And it does get pretty close to hitting like a lot of the challenges. So, the data kind of speaks for itself, but I can offer more if you'd like.
I love that. I
One
love that.
thing, if I
And
could jump in, Sarah, one of the things as we've done BARR, I mean, it's been quite a few years now, and I know St. Louis Park, where this originated, and some other schools that have been doing it for a while, you're going to have ebbs and flows. So the consistency of applying the programs or whatever you're doing, the consistency is critically important. And once you get to a point where you start to take them for granted, you're going to see a downturn. And you just have to refocus, and it brings the data right back up again.
I think, Jim, earlier today, we were talking about the importance of leadership when it comes to that.
Yeah.
It brings to mind the vision of the school traveling on a train up a hill,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
perhaps.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well,
we're all on the train together, and there are no
there's
stations
no
on the side of
stops, no depots. No.
yes. I love
So
that. I
we're
love
either
that.
going to climb the mountain together, or if you need to get off, well,
I'll assist you
make your
with that.
choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say
As
just
far
quickly, Sarah, on the data conversation about BARR, because it's such a big part of what BARR is. Like, this is like the year at a glance in Maine. But I think one of the things we hear very often from teachers and administrators who are implementing BARR, even for folks that are hesitant to start or maybe a little resistant to like a new thing in their school, they're getting data in real time to show. So even though this looks back at a whole year, they are getting that feedback like week to week as they're implementing BARR to see that it's having an impact.
Yeah.
love that. And but I'm also hearing from both Paige and Jim, it's an even bigger picture. BARR is a framework that a packaged structure that really helps, I would say, how do I want to say that? Oh, I'm missing the word, but it really elevates the impact. However, if you are a school or a classroom that has not yet had the opportunity to explore something like that, you can, from this conversation today, you can still take one, perhaps two. We talked about a whole bunch of different things that you could implement, even in your own classroom. Or perhaps you are a new administrator. One of the things I loved is thinking about, if I was an administrator and I was very interested in this, how could I look at the data that I have so that I could put together a proposal for the school board to consider, or if you were a principal, for the superintendent to consider. Again, often we see the greatest success when we have data to rely back on. Julie, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in that, Jim, I understand what you mean about how the greatest impact is when every single person believes in this. But one of the things that we are so passionate about when we talk about these office hours is, what can we provide someone attending today to do tomorrow? So it's instant. And whether it's, I can't, as a classroom teacher, convince everybody or convince my administrator about the importance of the brain-based benefits of greeting at the door. But I can start that myself and at least start that in a journey. So, for those of you who are in attendance, we truly hope that there is one thing that you can take and start implementing tomorrow that will be a benefit to you and your students and your learning community at large.
Right.
Dip your toe in before you jump. Or maybe just jump right in. Decide which one works for you. But I do like the fact that we have lots of different ideas. And then again, you'll have all these resources. Another one that we consistently share is for you to have the opportunity to connect with Count Me In. That is a Maine-based nonprofit organization that has incredible resources to share with you. They also provide opportunities to connect. For 30 minutes for free, you can connect with Jess Anderson, who is the executive director of Count Me In, and she'll just kind of listen to some of the challenges you're facing. If you wanted to work with them throughout the year, or even short-term coaching, this link down here will set you up with a newsletter, which is free. I love free is for me. So it's a free opportunity, and it is jam-packed with resources that you can use, again, as Julie was just alluding to, in the classroom, if that's your purview of impact, or it can be greater, maybe your team, or maybe your school, or maybe your SAU. So that's a great resource to start with. And this is remember guys, we each have a role in increasing attendance. The question comes back to, what can you focus on today to support increased attendance in Maine schools tomorrow? And with that, what I'd love to do, we have a few minutes left. If there are any questions that have come up for you, have at it, shoot them. What's bubbling in your brain right now?
I just want to say that was excellent wait time.
I would say
that you and Jim
Yes.
were so clear that there are no questions.
Yeah. So my send off on this is Paige Nichols. Thank you for bringing Jim Boothby to us today. I could not agree more that he has an exceptional perspective. I love, again, the layers of your professional career and how you've been able to see this from every different perspective. Jim, thank you. I appreciate it. Oh, I like that, Amy Peterson. Very nicely done.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm happy to talk with people about this as much as they'd like. I will say that I do know that if you're interested and you want to visit a BARR school, that can happen. We can make that happen and set up a visit. You could actually go in and observe a meeting time with the teachers. You can observe an eye time with students. You can talk to administration. So there's out there, and you have a number of schools in the state of Maine that are doing a wonderful job with this, seeing great success. So, in an ideal world, every school in the state of Maine would be doing this, and across the country, quite honestly. Hopefully we can get there one day.
What a send off, Jim. I love that. All right. Well, guys, I think, oh my goodness, I am gifting you 3 minutes back into your day today. So go out, enjoy some colorful leaves. And again, I thank you. Our next meeting will be November 19th. I hope to see your smiling faces here on the 19th, and we'll tackle our next Tier 1 evidence-based practice. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.